Hi guys, and welcome back to another true crime and makeup time video. If you're new here, my name is Zara and I post a new true crime video every single week. So if you love makeup and you love true crime, definitely leave me a comment down below letting me know what you want to see next. Hit the like button and I would love it if you would subscribe, guys. It would mean so much to me. Today's case was requested by Leonia, so thank you so much for requesting this case. Now, unfortunately, this topic is not rare, but it is a pretty shocking case considering that the perpetrator is only 16 years old. Cases that deal with family annihilators are unbelievable to me every single time. And I think for me, the most important question that it always raises is, what led these perpetrators to do such a horrific act? The background of this perpetrator also is something that's a little bit different, so I feel like this is a very interesting case. So let's jump straight into it. The Caffeys consisted of Terry and his wife Penny, and they had 3 children, 2 young sons, Tyler and Matthew, and then a 16-year-old daughter named Erin Caffey. Terry and Penny, they met when Terry was 24 years old and Penny was 21 years old, and their strong Baptist faith is what always kept them together. Erin was the first born child, and she was born on 27th July 1991, and the family lived in Alba, Texas, and they were a very conservative family who lived essentially to serve their church and their community. Some would say Erin's family or parents were overprotective because they began homeschooling their children when Erin was around 13 years old, and they moved from Celeste to Alba, Texas, and this was to be closer to their Baptist church called Miracle Faith. Now, along with moving to be closer here, the parents also served as ministers at this church. The family was Christian, and it was the parents who kept the kids super involved in the church and the church's activities. They wanted their kids to be heavily involved in the church, and all of the kids were also quite musical and they played instruments. So Tyler, he would play the guitar, Matthew, he would play the harmonica, and I think Mom Penny was a really good pianist. And Erin, she was kind of like the star of the church. She was a vocalist. She would sing during services, and she would sing so passionately that sometimes in the middle of the songs, in the middle of preaching, she would break down in tears from being so emotional. Erin's pastor, Todd McGee, he would always joke that if he had 5 Erins, he would have his church full every single weekend. Erin was cute and petite, and she had these blue-gray eyes, and she was quite flirtatious, especially her smile. She had a very flirty smile. And what came with that is that Erin really thrived off of attention. And I don't think that's anything unusual because, I mean, she's young, she's cute, and attention is what most young girls thrive off of. Young boys would often come to Miracle Faith Church just to watch Erin, and a lot of them have credited her with bringing them closer to Jesus. Erin initially started school, public school, in the 8th grade, but her parents were mortified when a girl from that school, she tried to kiss Erin, and her parents were like, no, no, no. And because of this, they reacted so abruptly by literally pulling out all children out of the public school a month into the school year and just deciding to homeschool them. And they not only homeschooled them, but the curriculum that they taught their kids on was a Bible-based school curriculum. Bisexuality was a serious threat to the parents, and especially her father, Terry. He was just shocked by the whole culture of bisexuality. Terry feels that bisexuality confused his daughter. He blamed that for confusing his daughter. I'm not sure what he meant by that. Maybe she showed some interest in girls. I have no idea. But Erin was also diagnosed with ADD. And due to this, she was falling behind in school. And yeah, that's why they decided to homeschool all their children, and they just didn't want any of these horrific, influences on their kids. But along with that, they were also hoping that this individual attention that Erin would receive would help her a little bit more with her schooling. Now, if any of you guys have been homeschooled, can you comment below? Let me know what your experience was, how you felt about it. Because for Erin, she felt isolated. Erin was a social girl and her existence was largely limited to the home where she was attending school and Miracle Faith Church. And there wasn't much else that she was exposed to. Due to being homeschooled, moving to this new town, she didn't have many friends, and eventually it took its toll on Erin. The family attended Bible study every Wednesday night, and then on Sundays, they would attend church. And along with that, each week they had to set aside time to rehearse gospel songs because obviously they would perform on Sundays. Now, I said before, Tyler, he was the youngest, that he played guitar, and there's mixed reports. So some say that Matthew, he would play the guitar and the harmonica, but then some say that the boys split it. But then the youngest, he most likely probably was not performing, he was probably just playing outside. Now, if this schedule doesn't convince you about how religious they were, they had this massive Bible verse hanging from the top of their garage, and it read, the Caffeys, Joshua 24:15. If it seem evil unto you to serve the Lord, choose you this day whom ye will serve. As for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. I remember when I was younger, my parents used to try and get us to say the rosary every Sunday night. Like, we would go to church and then they also wanted to say the rosary, and we would say the rosary so fast. Like, I remember if people would come and join us, like, I remember once Jay came and he was saying the rosary with us, and we would be like, Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners now and there. And he was like, you guys say it so fast, there's no point in even saying it. So it's just so funny. It used to take us like 10, 15 minutes to say the whole rosary. So that's how fast we would say it. It was always really funny. When Erin turned 16 in 2007, she got her driver's license, and then she ended up getting an old Chevy pickup truck. And then she was also allowed to get a part-time job, and she did, at the local Sonic. Oh my God, is Sonic still around? Because they're freaking frozen. What were they called? The frozen shakes or something? They were so good. Tornadoes? No. Something. Comment below. One of her co-workers at Sonic stated that when she got the job, it was wild to see a girl like her who had been so sheltered that when she started working here, it was like she was seeing the world for the first time. Her job entailed delivering food to cars waiting on roller skates. Like, she was that girl that would like roller skate to you and deliver your food to you. Because boys would literally come and park and just watch her deliver orders. And even though she was so kind of like got so much attention, she was quite naive about it. People that worked with her stated that she was quite innocent about it, and she would rush in from delivering orders and be blushing and smile and be like, oh my God, those guys over there, they were asking me for my number. And, her coworkers would be like, well, would you tell them that your mom's going to be the one answering the phone? Because she was so protected. Then, as most teenagers do, Erin got in trouble. One day at a church fellowship meeting, Erin got caught by her youth director making out with a boy outside the church during this fellowship meeting. And it wasn't just this youth director that caught her. Several kids had seen Erin making out with this boy on this park bench outside the church, and he had his hand up her shirt. So they were like going at it. And look, people do this, kids do this, right? But the kids that just have the balls to do this, like right outside a church meeting, Erin, like, who does that? I know a lot of kids do these kinds of things, but it's like, you have big balls to not be afraid of your parents, especially if you're at this meeting, and then that too, a church meeting. It's just very ballsy. And Erin had actually invited this same boy to her house in the past in hopes that he would become her boyfriend. But that day, her parents were the one who had to separate the two. And then they were deeply embarrassed by her behavior, as any parent would be. And they told her, you're not going to see that boy anymore. And because there were many boys that were interested in Erin, I'm not sure if this boy is the same boy that I'm going to tell you about. Because if the parents said, you're not going to see this boy anymore, how did this happen? But I believe this is the same boy. And this boy's name is Charlie Wilkinson. And he was not the most polished guy to take an interest in Erin. He always seemed to be broke, and he drove this beat up old car that had to be push started. But he was nice looking. I don't think he was bad looking. He had this light brown hair, light blue eyes, and he always dressed like a cowboy. But it's Texas, right? So that's okay. So he always wore these blue Wrangler jeans, cowboy boots, and this black Western hat. And on MySpace, my goodness, who remembers MySpace? But on MySpace, his name was Hillbilly. And Charlie had met Erin when she came up and delivered food to his window at Sonic. And Charlie was instantly attracted to Erin. Instantly. Charlie lived further out into the country with his father, stepmother, stepbrother, stepsister, and half-sister. And his dad, he worked at a paper mill outside Dallas. His mother had moved to Del Rio after they got divorced, and he rarely saw her. He only saw her like once or twice a year. Charlie was an avid hunter, and he spent much of his time fishing and tracking wild hogs out in the brush. And like most of his friends, he was very good with a firearm. He actually planned to go on active duty after graduation. Now, he was a good kid. He had never been, arrested or anything like that, and he didn't have any disciplinary problems at school, but he was known to be very hot-headed. And coming along with this, other students knew it was really easy to get a rise out of him. And some kids really did try to tease and provoke him to get a rise out of him, but usually Charlie, he would strike his desk or something like that, but he would usually walk away from a fight. Then throughout the fall, Charlie would always go to Sonic, hang out, and visit Erin. And for Halloween, she dressed up as a 50s or 60s, car hop. And she made this cute little pink and white ruffled skirt and had a little pink scarf around her neck. And he was just like infatuated with her. And shortly after this, I believe, is when he worked up the nerve to ask her out. So I'm guessing all of this happened much before that kissing incident at the church, or that could have been with a whole different boy. It was really hard to find out exactly who that boy was, but I think it's the same guy. Now, when they both started dating each other, Erin was also infatuated with him, and he was more like in love. Like he was like, I'm in love with this girl. She's my soulmate. He was really, really into her. And Erin's parents wouldn't obviously allow Charlie to take Erin out alone, but they still managed to spend a ton of time together because Charlie would always come over and hang out at Erin's house. He would drop by Sonic at each of Erin's shift during her half-an-hour break, and they would hang out then. And most evenings, he would hang out at Erin's house and join the family for dinner. Erin's brothers would usually build a bonfire after dinner, and Charlie would always be right there by Erin's side. And as soon as it hit 9 p.m., Erin's parents were like, bye, Charlie. Okay, bye. It's 9 o'clock. And Erin would then go on upstairs and then immediately call Charlie on the phone and talk to him till 10 p.m., which was her phone curfew. But on the weekends, she was allowed to talk on the phone till 11 p.m. And oh my God, guys, what do you think about this? Do you think it's good to impose these kinds of rules on kids? I'm so confused. I'm like, what do you do with children these days, right? Because this reminds me of Jay and I, because I wasn't allowed to date, okay? Jay and I have been dating, but I wasn't allowed to date. And we would talk on the phone for hours. Like I would get home from school at like 5:30 p.m. because we would hang out after school. Then I'd come home a little bit later. So like 5:30 p.m., finish dinner, do your homework, do stuff like that. And then I think I would call him from like 8:30 and we would talk till 11. And we would just talk. And then if my dad came, I'd like hang up the phone and be like, I wasn't talking to anyone. So I feel like, I don't know, if I didn't have to hide, would that be better? I don't know. I mean, we ended up staying together. So my situation is rare. I know that. But talking on the phone, it's, is that harmless? Is it not a big deal? I don't know. Now, Charlie also began attending church at Miracle Faith. And look, I mean, is that a good thing? Jay also began attending church with me. I mean, you just want to spend every second, every moment of your time together. And if it's attending church, that's fine. You know, at least you're not doing crazy things. But the pastor at the church, he thought it was a good thing that Charlie began coming in. He seemed like a nice, normal boy. And they didn't really think Erin and Charlie were going to be anything serious because they thought they're so young. It's just puppy love. It's not going anywhere. Then in December 2007, Erin asks her parents if she can go back to public school. Now, her brother Matthew was already enrolled back in public school. And this was because he told his parents that he missed his friends and just, you know, having a little bit of freaking freedom. So they agreed, and they also agreed to let Erin go back because Matthew was going back. And this actually worked out well for the family because it would also allow their mother, Penny, to have a chance at working and going back to part-time work. Charlie was at this public school too, and Erin begins attending just before Christmas. And as soon as her and Charlie in the same school, they're inseparable. They did every single thing together. They walked to classes together. They ate lunch together. They even skipped classes together. And they would skip class to go to Erin's truck where they would fool around. Soon, Terry and Penny would allow Erin and Charlie to actually go out together. So they would go to dinners together, but Charlie had to have Erin home by 9:30 p.m. Then, soon after Christmas, Erin and Charlie would sleep together for the first time. I mean, they were really, really in love. And soon after this, okay, I keep saying soon after, but things progressed very quickly. But soon after they slept together for the first time, Charlie was like, this is it. This is the girl for me. And he proposed to Erin. She was 16. So the way he did this was one day they were driving back home and he pulls over and he gets out on the side of the road and he proposes to Erin with his grandmother's engagement ring. He told her that this was a promise ring and that he would propose to her for real one day soon. So one day, Erin's just around, she's doing her thing, and her mom, Penny, she notices this ring on Erin's finger. Both Terry and Penny were furious, and they demanded that Erin return this ring to Charlie. So Terry goes and confronts Charlie and tells him, look, this ring gesture is highly inappropriate. Erin is only 16 years old. It's just not right. And Terry at this point, I mean, I'm guessing he felt this way from the start, but when the ring incident happened, he just said like, look, I'm really uncomfortable with you and Charlie anyways. He never really liked Charlie as he felt that Charlie didn't really respect him. And he just acted kind of rough and not very respectful. So I think it just didn't leave a good impression with Erin's parents. Terry and Penny were fine with the relationship until Erin's grades started slipping. And then they hop onto Charlie's MySpace page and then they see it's littered with sexual references as well as talks of drinking alcohol and partying. Now, this was not okay. So they began to talk to Erin and tell her that, look, this is just not the way we raised you. This is just not what we align with. They didn't believe that a boy like him would lead her the right way. And Terry says that Erin also used to always take pride in how she looked, but then she started to slip and she also started to become disrespectful towards her mother, Penny. Charlie and Erin had been together for around 5 months at this point, and for Terry and Penny, it was a long 5 months of dealing with Erin's rebellion. The parents now decided it was time to separate Erin from what they believed was the bad influence. So after this, they began to restrict Erin from spending time with Charlie. She was only allowed to see him now once a week and only in their home where they could keep an eye on her. And they kept this eye on Erin and restricted pretty much everything she did. They restricted her freedom and the time she would spend with Charlie. And before, remember, she could kind of see him all the time. And they believed they had to keep an eye on Erin and everything she did because of this behavior she was exhibiting. Now, Erin was obviously furious from this, and she even told one of her aunts that she was planning to run away with Charlie. One day during an argument with her mom, Erin and Penny were in this heated argument, and Penny got so angry that she slapped Erin. And Erin was so upset, and she ran and she called Charlie and she told him everything that had happened. Then in early February 2008, Erin was caught on the phone talking to Charlie late at night. And, she had that 10 p.m. phone curfew and she was talking to him way past 10 p.m. And what happened was Erin had snuck her cell phone into her bedroom so she could speak to Charlie really late at night. After this, Penny tells Erin that she is grounded. So the terms of her being grounded was that they took away her cell phone and her car, and they had to drive her to and from school for weeks. Now, that was bad, but the worst part for Erin was that Charlie's weekly visits were now suspended. Now, Erin was super upset, and when she speaks to Charlie, they start talking about, what they can do to fix the situation, and Erin states that killing her parents was their best bet. Erin talked about this idea relentlessly. She apparently brought up this subject once or twice a day. She would talk about it on her lunch break. And in February, one student who was a junior, she overheard Erin talking to Charlie about killing her parents and how it was the best option, that this was the only way they could be together. And Charlie, he wanted to be with Erin. Charlie would turn 18 that month, and he would do whatever it takes to make Erin happy. Charlie's father would joke that he had lost puppy dog syndrome, that he would just help out whoever was down in their luck. Erin was just someone he wanted to rescue. And Charlie, not in the smartest move, would tell several of his friends that he wanted to kill Erin's parents. Now, even though Charlie said these things, in reality, he just wanted to run away with Erin. He had told people this too, that even though his intentions were to kill her parents, he didn't want to do that. He also claimed that he wanted to just get Erin pregnant so that her parents would just accept him. But Erin, she was insistent. She was too young to have a baby, and as long as her parents were alive, her and Charlie would have to remain apart. One of Erin's schoolmates, a girl, she claimed that Erin had Charlie wrapped around her finger. She could pretty much get him to do whatever she wanted. Obviously, this would cause a lot of tension in the Caffey household, and at church too, people began noticing that things were just not right in the Caffey house. Penny, her mom, was just not as involved as she usually was in church events, and Erin also stopped attending church events. Penny, her mom, wasn't as involved in church events, and Erin, when she would attend, she was just super distracted, or she wouldn't sing as well as she normally would. There seemed to just be tension in the Caffey household. What no one knew is that this tension was more than that, and Erin and Charlie were hatching a plan that would destroy everything. On the night of 1st March 2008, Terry gets home from a night shift at work, and he had worked 14 hours that shift, and he was extremely tired. He quickly ate some dinner, and then he just went straight to bed. That would be the last time Terry would see his family alive. The next thing he heard was his bedroom door flying open at 3 a.m. Erin and Charlie had planned that night to end it all. At 2 a.m., Charlie pulls in to the Caffey house driveway. Along with him is his 20-year-old friend, Charles Wade, and his girlfriend, Bobby Johnson, who was 18. Erin quickly ran outside in her pajamas, and she gets in Charlie's car. Before entering the property, Charlie tells Erin, "Look, I'm going to have to kill your younger brothers if you want me to do this, so that there's no witnesses left on scene." Erin reportedly responded with, I don't care. Just do what you have to do. Charlie and Charles then burst into the Caffey household, about to do the most horrific things to this innocent family. Now, Terry initially did hear some noise, but he thought it was just one of the kids having a nightmare. And as he was just awoken from this sound, 2 men burst through his bedroom door. Before he knew it, these men were raining bullets all over him and his wife, Penny. Terry was shot over 11 times at close range, and so was his wife, Penny. The .22 caliber pistol that the men were using jammed, and then Terry saw that the men also had a samurai sword with them, which they began attacking Penny with through the neck, almost, oh my God, decapitating her. Terry watched his wife die as he lay there, unable to do anything, unable to help her. The 2 men then make their way up to where the boys are sleeping, and Terry hears his son Tyler scream out, "No, Charlie, no. Why are you doing this?" Terry lay there helpless as the 2 men shot Tyler in the face and took turns using the sword on Matthew. These 2 boys were brutally killed. Young boys. Just Charlie and Charles then ransacked the Caffey household looking for any valuables they could steal, as Charlie had promised Charles $2,000 to help him with this murder. Finally, they poured lighter fluid on some furniture in the house and then set it on fire. Little did they know, Terry survived this horrific attack. As he regained consciousness, he soon realized that the house was on fire. He thought, the only way I can escape is through the bathroom. So he crawls to the bathroom, okay, and then crawls out of the window. He regained consciousness and realized the house is on fire. And he's wounded, but he's like, the only way I can get out is through the bathroom. So he crawls through the bathroom. He manages to crawl up out the window, and then he falls to the ground below. Now, Terry was shot 5 times. He had 5 gunshot wounds, but he still, with these injuries, still managed to crawl the length of 4 football fields to get help from neighbors. It took him 1 hour to crawl to this neighbor's house, and he passed out a few times along the way. He even fell into a creek where he nearly drowned, but he managed to make it. He thought he had to keep moving. He wanted to get help to at least try to save his family, and he thought, if I can't save my family, at least I want to catch the people that did this. He knew his wife and 2 sons were attacked, most likely dead, but what kept him alive was the hope that his daughter was alive somewhere. Finally, he collapsed onto a neighbor's porch. So he was shot 5 times, once in the head, twice in his right shoulder, and 2 more times in the back. His face was completely caked in blood, and his neighbors were Helen and Tommy. As soon as they saw him, they called 911 and got him to the hospital. As he was being taken into the ambulance to get to the hospital, he said, "Charlie Wilkinson shot my family." And the detective on scene, he quickly managed to ask him a couple of questions before he was taken away. And he said, who's Charlie? Who's this guy? And he said, this is my daughter's boyfriend, and me and my wife, Penny, we forbade them from seeing each other. He believed that Charlie had broken into their house and shot his family while they slept. Now, the sheriff shook his head as soon as he heard Charlie's name. And I mean, it was a small town, and he knew who Charlie was. Now, pretty soon, because of this, they tracked down Charlie at a trailer. The trailer belonged to Matthew Wade, who was Charles Wade's older brother, and the police get in and wake up Matthew from his sleep, and his girlfriend was also present in the trailer. So they walk from room to room in this trailer looking for Charlie, and they walk into this one room, and there's Charlie. He's laying awake on the bed in just a pair of jeans, and next to him on the floor, there's a handgun. Police arrested Charlie. They read him his rights, and they told him he's being taken in for questioning. They tell him the Caffey family was attacked and shot earlier tonight. Were you involved in this? Charlie says, no, sir. I got drunk last night and I passed out. So the deputy goes back inside the trailer, back inside the room to get Charlie a shirt and his boots. And he goes into that room. He grabs it and he notices that his clothes are splattered with blood. The officers then put Charlie in the back of the squad car and they just drive in silence to the station. Early that morning, firefighters were still trying to put that house fire out, and at that point they couldn't, and the house ended up burning down to its foundation. Later that day, one of the firefighters were brought down to their knees with emotion because from the rubble, one of the young boys' bodies were pulled out. After Charlie was taken to the station and put in jail, they went back to the trailer and they found a purse of Erin's with her ID in it. They searched that room and they found spent shell casings as well as a used condom. Next, they pick up this blanket off the floor and they noticed blonde hair. At first, they thought it was a doll until they saw these two eyes staring back at them. It was Erin Caffey curled up in a fetal position against the wall covered in this blanket. Erin claimed to not know where she was. She had no idea where she was. She was in shock and she claimed to have been kidnapped. So Erin was taken to the hospital for assessment where she tells doctors that she was 14 years old and she wakes up in the middle of the night with a house full of smoke and two masked men ordering her to get down. She doesn't remember how she got to the trailer, but that she remembers calling her friend Charlie and that she drank some stuff and that she couldn't remember anything. And she was teary-eyed at the start, but she really didn't show much emotion. Also, Erin did not smell like smoke. So her grandparents came to look after her, and then she was soon told that her father, Terry, had survived this ordeal. Less than 24 hours after the murders took place, all four suspects were in police custody: Charles, Charlie, and Bobby, and Erin. And the craziest part, 24 hours later, they're all talking. Charlie was the first one who said, "I'm in trouble." Charlie tells police that Erin had called him the day before and she was still pretty pissed off about her parents not letting them see each other, and she told Charlie she wanted them dead. Charlie said he urged Erin to just run away with him, but she said, "No, kill them." Now, all three of the suspects, Charles, Charlie, Bobby, all gave identical statements claiming that Erin was the mastermind behind the murders. However, they did say that her young brothers were only killed in case they talked. Then Erin denied being the mastermind, but claims she did have knowledge of the plan, as well as she did nothing to stop the murders taking place. Soon, police uncover Erin's chilling plot to kill her parents. Erin ordered Charlie to just do it, and she conspired with Charles and Bobby as well. Charles was Charlie's hunting buddy and he needed money. So Charlie promised him $2,000 if he would help him kill Erin's parents. Erin confirmed that the $2,000 in cash would be found inside the house inside a lockbox. Now, Bobby Johnson, she was 18 years old. She was supposed to be the getaway driver. She claims she had no idea what the plan was and she was just going along for the ride. Charlie tells the detective that when they first arrived at the Caffey house, that the dog was barking so much that they were about to just leave and call off the whole plan. But Erin quickly called him and said, no, I'll keep the dog quiet. Just come, continue with the plan. Let's do this. He then says that the three of them then picked up Erin at the end of Erin's driveway, and then they drove around in the car for like an hour talking about what to do and what the plan would be. Charlie says that even during that time, he told Erin multiple times, let's just run away. But she was insistent that her parents should be killed and her family should be killed. So finally, they then agree, and then they drive back down to the Caffey's house. And the plan was that Charlie was going to kill Erin's parents, and Charles Wade, was going to kill the two brothers. And they did this so that no witnesses would be left behind. Charlie says that he didn't have a conscience, and the reason why he joined the army was that he was just going to do things that needed to be done. He also claims that he intended to kill Erin's family because he thought he was in love with her. They then go on to talk about how they murdered the family, and they described what they did to the little boys, which I really can't get into. But they basically describe how scared the little boys were during the attack and how Charlie, he broke down during his confession when he was talking about Erin's brothers. After the killing spree, Charlie says he takes a suitcase full of Erin's belongings back to the car. And just to show her intent, Erin had pre-packed this suitcase full of her things before the night even began. And when they get back to the car, Charlie says that Erin seemed happy. And she said, "I'm so glad that's over." Then after they set the house on fire, they end up driving down the back roads for a little while just to blow off steam. Later that night, Charles drops Charlie and Erin back off to that trailer where they then had sex. After killing her whole family, they had sex. Charlie then said, "I hope God forgives me." It was while Terry was in the hospital recovering that he heard that his daughter Erin had survived this horrific attack. And this news actually gave Terry the will to survive. However, this was short-lived because half an hour after he was delivered the news that Erin was alive, his sister tells him that Erin has been arrested and charged with murder. Days after Terry was released from the hospital, he decides to go back to the Caffey household where his family was killed, where his house burnt down, and he was about to take his own life and end it with a gun. But then he said, okay, well, there's enough blood that's been shed, so I'll end my life, with an overdose. But he sat with these thoughts for a while. He read the Bible and he realized that maybe God has a bigger plan for him. He felt that there was a reason why he didn't die that night. So he buys an RV and he actually parks it in the same spot where the house once was, even though his friends and family were like, that's a really bad idea, but that's what he wanted to do. Twice a week, he made the trip to see Erin in Greenville, which I believe from Alba is like 13 hours driving. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that's a long time. He couldn't really talk to Erin about what happened that night while she was in jail because everything was being recorded, right? So they didn't want to say anything. But he was in agony. I mean, she was his only living family member. And he asks her, were me and your mom good parents? And they're sitting separated by that, that plexiglass. They're sitting on the opposite side of the glass. And Erin says no. She reassures him, yes, you guys were great parents. She couldn't have asked for a better mom and dad. Now, the Attorney General was Lisa Tanner, and she said that the case wasn't as simple as Erin was just being mistreated by her parents, and that's why she decided to do this. The court-mandated psychological assessment failed to show any type of abuse had taken place in the Caffey household. Yet, Lisa, the Attorney General, had no doubts that Erin was the mastermind behind this entire plot. Now, the phone records actually corroborated Charlie's story. So from 11:46 p.m. that night until 12:48 a.m., Erin called him 6 times from inside the Caffey house. But from 1:22 a.m. to 1:58 a.m. when she called him 7 more times. So that actually times in perfectly with what Charlie had said. Because they were taking so long, Erin kept calling them and saying, "Where are you? Where are you? What's taking you so long? Come back, I'll keep the dog quiet." When Terry was presented with all this evidence, along with that little fact that Charlie and Erin had sex after the murders took place, he was just in disbelief. He just kept saying, why? And yet, even after seeing every single piece of evidence, he continued his journeys to meet and visit Erin and stood by her side throughout it all. Even in court, he would stand by her side holding her hand. He never wavered in his support. And a lot of people were like, what the hell? Why? But people that knew him just believed in his unwavering faith. Unconditional love, man. That really is. Terry also wrote a letter to the district attorney and he stated, "My heart tells me there have been enough deaths. I want them in this lifetime to have a chance for remorse and to come to a place of repentance for what they have done. Killing them will not bring back my family. Terry asked that Charles and Charlie receive life sentences without parole. After consulting with the Attorney General, the two of them were offered plea deals. In November of that year, Charlie and Charles each pled guilty to 3 counts of capital murder. Charles and Charlie were both sentenced to life without parole, and Bobby Johnson, 18, was also sentenced to life, but she is eligible for parole after 40 years. Terry has continued to embrace his relationship with his daughter Erin despite what she did. Erin insists that on the night of the murder, she tried to run away from Charlie, but he forced her to wait in the car. Her father believes her. Erin also accepted a plea deal to life sentences to be served concurrently, plus an additional 25 years, and she will be eligible for parole when she is 59 years old. Terry remarried shortly after to a woman who had 2 sons of her own, and he still makes the trip to Gatesville once a month to visit his daughter, Erin. Now, there was a mental health counselor called Israel Lewis, and he evaluated Erin for the defense when her trial was taking place, and he said that Erin had insisted that Charlie had a volatile temper, that he had killed her family after she had broken up with him, and that he did this for revenge and to frame her. He goes on to say, "I have worked with some good liars, but Erin was one of the best. She seemed totally sincere and genuine, and I would have put my license on the line to say that she was telling me the truth. She spoke with tears in her eyes. God will save me. He knows I am innocent. I cried every time I left her jail cell." And if that's true, that is just crazy. Cases like this always begs the question as to what causes a person to seek revenge on their entire family, their mother, their father, their siblings. This case, though, honestly, seems to have no real answer. Was it really just the idea of not being with Charlie that caused Erin to snap? I know we weren't there with the family, obviously, but it didn't even seem like their restrictions on Erin were that severe. It all seemed very innocent, very faith-based, and that their concerns for Erin were genuine, that she was going down this wrong path, in their eyes. And this kind of seems valid, especially if, as they said, Erin's behavior did a 180. I feel like as parents, they were doing the right thing. They were looking out for their daughter's well-being. They were picking up on signs that she was changing and that perhaps that she was about to, maybe go down the wrong path. How does a person like Erin, who her father states once cried when they accidentally drove over a squirrel, have it in her to have her entire family murdered? How does she face her father, who seems to support her no matter what? I've read online comments saying that her father is just in denial and he just doesn't want to accept that his daughter is a monster. But is he? How does this happen? Is she a monster? In 5 months, after a 5-month relationship, that's where her thoughts went? Or is it always in her? Was it always there deep down? I find that just so hard to believe. And how are you supposed to live life like that, knowing people can just snap? I wonder if there were some other issues, or if Erin really just didn't think things through. Maybe who knows really, guys? Like, it's just, I'm here like, I don't know. What do you guys think? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Besitos. Mwah. Bye.